Good afternoon. Welcome to EduSat Network. Friend, firstly, we wish you all a very happy and prosperous New Year. And as you know, today our topic of discussion is politics and governance. As you know, politics is not a game of ruling, but it's a game also taking a nation to a new height, to make a progressive. So, what the traits, major traits a politician, a political person should have? For that we have discussion on this topic, and Dr. MP Jain has suggested a political quotient is required for the political persons, and what that political quotients are, and what constitute political quotient. Over the years, a number of theorists, a number of thinkers has suggested the traits and the qualities of a politician, a state, and others, and we will discuss on all these things. And for discussion on this very topic, we have in the studio Dr. MP Jain. He is author, thinker, and he has been teaching political science for many years in Delhi University, and presently also writes books, columns, and delivers lectures from various platforms. So I think his knowledge and experience will help us to understand this very topic in a new perspective, and will guide us to follow the politics and governance in a new perspective. So on your behalf, I welcome Dr. MP Jain for the EduSat lecture on the topic politics and governance, and we'll start with the political quotient. Welcome, Mr.
Friends, good afternoon and very happy New Year to all of you. Today we are going to discuss a topic which is inspired by new science of politics. Basically, it is concerned with political sociology. It is concerned with how the states, societies, or people are governed. It is concerned with how should the governors be selected and elected. It is concerned with the qualities of the governors and personality traits of the governors. Normally in practice, we find that those who deserve to rule are ruled, and those who do not deserve to rule are ruling. We are having typical type of leaders in the whole world, from Idi Amin in Uganda to Barack Obama in America, to the President of France, President of USSR, Soviet Russia right now, Putin. We are having different type of characters. We have seen third-rate kind of leaders in the world. We have seen first-rate kind of leaders. Question arises, what is the quality required for rulers? From where the rulers come, and how the rulers should be nominated, selected, or elected. In modern democracies, who should rule is a big issue. Who is a good politician? What are the criteria of a good politician? It is a major issue. Whom the political power should be entrusted is a burning issue in the modern democracies. No longer the classical notion of democracy, government of the people, by the people, for the people, is valid now. It is very much in doubt. We have entered into the age of mass democracies, where citizen has been simply transformed into a voter. He is used for a moment, only in periodical elections, he has to elect a leader. So democracies are not democracies. These are leadercracies led by leaders. So in such a situation, it is not the demos who are the main actors. Main actors in politics are leaders. And our topic in the coming 2 lectures or 3 lectures shall be political content, that is, what are the criteria of a good leader? Who should be entrusted the political power? Whom can we trust? Who can lead the developmental process in the society? Who can contribute to the welfare of the people? And we have to, in this way, determine the parameters of good leadership. First, before we discuss the individual cases, it is appropriate to discuss what is the problem. The problem in democracies is not to elect leaders, but to select leaders. Different political parties have to select the candidates. There is recruitment in each and every political party. How should they recruit the people? In order to be a leader, subjective conditions are not only the essential conditions. There must be objective conditions around. In democracy, normally it is found that people with high caliber and high abilities are there on the margins, and with low abilities and corrupt and with vested interest, they are in the mainstream. So, fundamental problem is that we must select the leaders who are worthy, who can deliver goods, who can accelerate the development, and who are democratic and positive in their approach toward everything. So, political content is concerned with the fundamental issue as to what is a good leader. Before we take the case studies of the leaders, we should see as to what history tells us, the various thinkers in the history, prominent thinkers, how they have described a good ruler. Starting with the father of the political philosophy, Plato, we shall move on to the later on political thinkers, Western political thinkers, and some Indian thinkers too. In all, we shall discuss Plato, Aristotle, Romans, Machiavelli, Hobbes, and fascism. 6 viewpoints. Of course, these are overlapping here and there in the Western world. And from India, we shall take up ancient political thinker, come politician, come kingmaker, Kautilya. Then modern India's father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Then Dr. Ambedkar, who has given his views on social equality and leadership in modern India. So we shall take up different views of the different writers. First of all, most important, Plato. Normally it is said that Plato has opined on everything, whether it is state, whether it is society, whether it is, say, social composition, everything. Plato has been there. Regarding rulers, he has raised very good issues and he has given a very important kind of analysis of how the ruler should be given power and who is a good ruler. He was first to define who should rule categorically, clearly, and with emphasis, with conviction. He gave the theory of philosopher king and communism. One was positive, another was negative. He maintained that rulers are the men of gold. He divided the society into three kinds of men: men of gold, men of silver, men of iron. Like Indian Varna system, which divided the society into four social classes, Plato divided into three. First was the ruling class, like Brahmins in this country. Second was the defending class, like Kshatriyas in this country. And third was the men of iron, namely manual workers and earners. In India, third and fourth were Varnas. They were integrated into one by Plato. Plato said that rulers are the men of gold. They must be thoroughly educated. Positive virtues must be cultivated in them. And they must be the men of tough intelligence and reason. They must have strong reasoning power. And a long scheme of education he gave, running into more than 25 years, to the selected few who has to be rulers. And these rulers, he said, are decided by birth. Plato didn't believe in the equality of man. Leaders are born. We have to pick them up and make them sharp through the process of education. In order to safeguard their virtues, they should not be allowed family, personal family, wife, children and all that, and personal property. Devoid of family and property, which are having corrupting influence on the rational and powerful even. Plato maintained that these rulers shall not have any personal, family and property. Quite impracticable in the modern time. In the age of Kalamadi and Raja, this type of observation is quite impractical, but quite meaningful. Plato was convinced that rulers, even though they are most intelligent, they are rational, they can be corrupt. And corrupting influence comes from family and the possession of property. So Plato maintained that family and property should not be allowed to the rulers. Though they have been educated, they are the men of tough intelligence. After rigorous education process they have come. They are fully trained into the art of rulership, yet they can be lured by family and property. Obviously, Plato is idealistic, impracticable in the modern time. We can't have rulers like that. Then comes Aristotle, who diluted the ideas of Plato a bit. Aristotle was the disciple of Plato. If Plato was idealist and the founder of political philosophy, Aristotle is the founder and father of political science. He gave the practical solutions. His basic contention was that the rulers should not be rich and should not be poor. He should belong to middle class. Because middle class men can take care of rich as well as poor. If he is rich, he will be arrogant and will not take care of the poor. If he will be poor, he will mint money for himself and try to become rich. So it is better that the rulers should come from middle classes. In tune with Plato, he said that they should be thoroughly educated. Unlike in the modern period where we are having angutha-take leaders who simply use their thumb instead of pen, Plato and Aristotle both, they emphasized on the thorough education of the leaders. Because according to them, it is the education which inculcates reasoning in man, which inculcates intelligence, sharpens the intelligence of man, which makes him aware of good and bad, moral and immoral, and all that. Thirdly, unlike Plato, Aristotle suggested that rulers can be immoral also. If there is a demand of higher morality, they can be immoral to maintain that morality. In order to stop revolution, in order to crush revolution, they can be violent, they can be cruel, they can be dishonest, and anything. So he was 10 to 20% Machiavelli in his approach with regard to leadership. He was not a purist. Plato didn't allow his ruler to be dishonest or cruel or immoral. He wanted virtuous leaders with virtue, no vice. So in Aristotle we find a compromising approach towards the morality of leaders. Then comes the Roman period. That was the historical necessity of the period, that all the city-states should be integrated into one. A unity should be achieved. A monolith empire should be established with strong empires like Julius Caesar, like Octavius, and so on. During that period, the concept of leadership was that leader should be a strong military general. He should take quick decisions. He should be acceptable to the Senate of the Roman Empire. He should be highly regarded. He may or may not be loved, but he should be feared. And everybody must obey his command, whether right or wrong. So strong personality of the leader. He must be bold, and above all he must be a very good warrior. In war he should participate himself and conduct the war, lead the war. He should be a war strategist, because at that time it was essential for the Roman Empire to expand, and Roman Empire expanded also. All their generals or leaders took Roman Empire to the heights during that very period. They were much like Alexander the Great in their approach, and they could establish a very strong Roman Empire during their period. So Roman approach to the leadership was not based on morality as such. It was based on law. The leader should be law-abiding, no doubt, but he should be a strong military general. He must be able to get victory in the war. He must be able to demolish the armies of the enemies. And in this way, Roman concept of leadership was based on power. Then comes modern period, our period. And the first thinker, rather political thinker you can say, not moral thinker, father of modern politics we can say him, Machiavelli, gave the concept of leadership in his book Prince. The name of the book was Prince. And in the book he was suggesting the qualities of leadership. How prince should behave, what qualities the prince should have. And Machiavelli separated politics from ethics. He maintained that there are two kinds of moralities. One is public morality for princes, and another is private morality for a common man. Honesty is a private morality, is not a public morality. Public morality is guided by the interest of the state. If in the interest of the state a leader has to speak lie, then speaking lie is a public morality, not speaking truth. If violence is required in the interest of the nation, state, then he should be violent, and violence is the morality, public morality, not the peace. If cruelty is the demand of the time, and for expansion of the state cruelty is needed, he should be cruel, and cruelty is the public morality, not sympathetic nature. So Machiavelli was a pragmatic thinker who suggested the pragmatic leadership. His views were based on realism. All the third-rate politicians who are cruel, undemocratic, authoritarian, they cite Plato's book Prince as a guide. So Plato in a way was writing in the period, as somebody has said, that was the period of scoundrels. And in order to check the scoundrels, he suggested that the ruler should be a super scoundrel, because that is the demand of time. Plato maintained that leaders should behave as per situation. There cannot be any fixed rule, fixed criteria, fixed characteristics of a ruler. He should be flexible in his approach. And in this way, Machiavelli, the father of modern thought, European thought of course, and the father of the nation state, who gave importance to the state in the closing years of medieval period, he gave altogether a different picture of a politician. And his picture is the most relevant picture in the modern time, though we may try to criticize it, reject it, or we may not accept it in theory. But in practice, still, his suggestion of characteristics of the ruler are widely accepted. His ruler was a quick decision maker. He had to act promptly. He had to be decisive and extrovert. He has to be very cunning and manipulative. The only logic for a leader is that he should win. By this way, if possible, by that way, if necessary. So in this way, Machiavelli gave altogether a different portrayal of a good leader. After Machiavelli comes Hobbes. Hobbes named his ruler as Leviathan, all-powerful, supreme, commanding Leviathan. But the beauty of this Leviathan is that he is not hereditary. He is not God-made. He is a man-made Leviathan who is ruling in the age which is having the crisis of governance, who is ruling in the age when the traditional ruler, the monarch, has been slain, has been slaughtered by the masses. King Charles I was slaughtered in the year 1649, around 350 years back. And in 1651 came Leviathan, the book by Hobbes, just 2 years after the king was slaughtered in open. That age was having mistrust towards the rule. That state was the state of anarchy or semi-anarchy. Everywhere there was a question that who should rule, from where the rulers will come. If ruler is not hereditary, what is he? Hobbes gave a very simple answer. He is your representative. You have to create a ruler, because without ruler there will be absolute anarchy, state of nature. It will be a war of all with all, and nobody will be at peace, whether it is strong or poor, rich or poor, strong or weak. So he suggested the logic of rule, logic of governance. And without government or state, mankind cannot survive, he said. State of nature will be the state where everybody will be at war. The life will be nasty, brutish and short. So he suggested that ruler will be created by you, but after he is created, he will be supreme one. Whom you will create, that will be contractual only. And your contract with the ruler will be unilateral, not bilateral. You can't impose any condition on the ruler. Ruler may protect your rights, may not protect your rights. You can't say anything. Because once you have fired the shot, you are nowhere. The only democratic thing in Hobbes' thinking was that ruler is approved by the public. There was no scheme as to how the rulers would be changed. So Hobbes, in a way, introduced the democratic logic into the leadership. After Hobbes, in 19th century, we had thinkers like Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, Wagner, who suggested altogether a different approach towards leaders. They inspired a new trend in the philosophy, European philosophy, known as irrationalism. They introduced the concept of charisma, charismatic leadership, hero worship, heroism. Undisputed heroes will be the leaders. They will have unquestioned authority, unquestioned obedience, and they will rule with very strong thumb. They will be having an image which will be unassailable image. They will always be right. The future will be bright because they are right. They will never be wrong. So in this way, they laid the foundations of fascism. The representative thinker of the age was Friedrich Nietzsche, a German philosopher, who maintained that ego is the most important trait of the human personality. Man must have superego. He must dominate. And the man who can dominate most is the leader. Surrender is not the quality of a leader. Toleration is not the quality of a leader. Sympathy is not a quality of a leader. A leader cannot be compassionate. He has to be a dictator. He has simply to dictate. He has to be a man with thumb. A strong rule should be there. In a way, he was saying that people should be governed in one-way way. One-way way means there will not be any interaction with the government, only rule and rule. So in this way, fascism gave altogether a new theory of leadership based on charisma and charismatic leadership. It gave birth to the leader as hero. He must have the qualities of becoming a hero, undisputed hero of the masses. That Hitler and Mussolini in the 20th century were the examples of that heroism. What was their fate, everybody knows. And what was the fate of fascism, that also everybody knows. Charisma works, but for a limited time. Unless the leader is worthy, unless the leader is humane, unless the leader is honest and sympathetic to the people in masses, he will not last long. He shall have the fate of Hitler and Mussolini. That we know. In the later half of the 20th century, leadership just proved it. I'm not saying that dictators didn't emerge after that. And dictators will not emerge. We shall have dictators, good dictators and bad dictators. We shall always have Saddam Hussein, we shall always have Gaddafi, we shall always have Musharraf and all that. Military dictators should be there. And I'm not saying that they are or they were bad or they were good. Question of good and bad is not there. We are living in the age of democracy, no doubt. But dictatorships and military rules cannot be ruled out in the modern period. Predominantly, of course, we are democratic and states are democratic. There have been third-rate states ruled by the Democrats. Third-rate rules. Zimbabwe is one of the examples. And they are first-class rules of the dictators. So question of quality here doesn't arise. Whether a ruler is democratic or dictatorial. I am not saying that dictatorship is ruled out, but we don't accept dictatorship as a good kind of governance in our time. And a man with dictatorial traits in personality is not regarded as a good leader. A good leader, as we shall see in the next lecture tomorrow, when we shall specify various theories of leadership, like 5 traits model, etc., then we shall see as to what qualities are good and what qualities are bad. So this is all about the European writers, European thinkers on the issue. Now we shall see the Indian thinkers. But before we take up Indian thinkers, let us examine some of the illustrious European rulers from the pages of history. Beginning with Pericles. Pericles was ruling Greek world. He was a Greek ruler and excellent speaker he was. Pericles' speeches, or the funeral speech, is one of the best speeches delivered by any human being so far. He was a perfect democrat who believed in direct democracy, not representative democracy, but direct democracy. And he was the most successful ruler of the Greek world. Perfect democrat. Direct democracy everywhere. And he led the country into war also. Of course, in war his record was not that good because Sparta was much more powerful than him. During his time, almost his time, Socrates was executed by democratic logic, of course. So you can't say that there were not vices in his rule. After that, we had great Roman emperors like Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar was an excellent general, but he was brutally murdered in the Senate itself by his near relatives, Octopus and all that. Brutus also was involved in his murder. Fault? he wanted to come closer to Egypt through his queen Cleopatra. Romans could not adjust to it. He was absolutely a very honorable general who led many victories in the war, but he was not accepted. A man with high-class intelligence, high-class organizing ability, but his only fault was that he was in love with Egyptian queen. I don't know whether love to the rulers is forbidden or not, whether they are allowed to have love or not. So anyway, after Julius Caesar, we had great devastating ruler of Rome, Nero. When Rome was burning, he was enjoying. He was just like our Awadh Nawab Wajid Ali Shah. He was in fine arts, lover of fine arts, but a very poor warrior. Roman Empire was lost during his regime. The whole of the Roman Empire fell to barbarians, as European historians say. I am not saying that barbarians were less civilized than Europeans. I am not saying that. Because Europeans always have called non-Europeans as barbarians, whether those were Indians during the British rule or African during their rule and all that. So in the modern period, we had Queen Elizabeth in England, powerful ruler, absolute monarch, and she ruled England with thumb rule. After that, we had English Prime Minister like Disraeli, who was a perfect democrat. That was the period where monarchy was on decline. Monarchy had lost power. Power had come into the hand of the nominal real head of the government, that is Prime Minister. We had Prime Ministers like Disraeli, like Churchill, like Margaret Thatcher, and so on. These are democratic leaders, manipulative, highly manipulative. First of all, they manipulate position in the political party they represent. And secondly, they manipulate the electorates and all that. Then in America, we had leaders like Roosevelt, like Abraham Lincoln, we had, like Johnson, who rose from poverty to richness, to the great position. We had Barack Obama. We had Kennedy, an aristocrat. So they were aristocrats as well as people belonging to poorest section of the society who rose to the top leadership. So the leadership pattern has been very confusing, very difficult to find out the parameters. In the recent campaign of Obama, we found that there was a widespread reference in his speeches about his mother in poverty. He was telling a normal black man, come on, here I am, son of a poor mother, approaching to you, and I shall take care of every son of a poor mother. Vote for me. Very difficult thing. And that clicked. That we shall take tomorrow in the lectures as to how situational circumstances has to be taken care of by the leaders. Leader must know what situation requires. He must talk to the time and find out what time is asking, what time is demanding, and he should satisfy the demands of the time. Only then the leadership emerges. Now we come to the Indian thinkers who has given the views on the leadership. There are many, but the most important is Kautilya. Kautilya is important as a thinker as well as the creator of a king. He created a king, he made a king, A layman was picked up by him as a child, and it trained him to become the most powerful monarch India had so far in the history, namely Chandragupta Maurya. He created Chandragupta Maurya. He engineered a leader. He manufactured a leader. So Kautilya had very strong opinions about what a leader should be. And he was not a perfect moralist. He supported tough education for the ruler, tough discipline for the ruler, and a very pure life for a ruler. A ruler must be highly diplomatic. He should know his opponents, and he should behave like that. He should be flexible in his approach. He may be moral and moral if situation demands. He must have situational decisions. He must take quick decisions, but situational only. No rigid morality will work. Like Machiavelli, Kautilya believed in Kutniti. We may call it a dirty politics. Politics is politics, whether it is dirty or not. If politics increases the power, it is good. If it decreases the power, it is bad. Politics is neither dirty or good, Kautilya said. And he suggested many means which were immoral to his king. So morality and immorality will not work with the king. King has to see first of all the interest of the state. Like Machiavelli, Kautilya was suggesting that. He was unlike Mahatma Gandhi, who was a perfect moralist. No, Kautilya said. If exigency requires immorality, one should be. Because politics, after all, is politics. It is not ethics. The political ethics is different than personal ethics. Very simple. So Kautilya was diplomatic in his approach towards what a leader should be. Though he was thinking in the ancient time, the Vedic period, post-Vedic period, but he was not Vedic in his approach. He was realist. And he could create a powerful monarch in the form of Chandragupta Maurya, successful monarch, who founded the Maurya dynasty, who gave us fantastic monarchs like Ashoka and so on. So Kautilya's concept of a leader was that he should be pragmatic. He should listen to the voice of the time and circumstances. He should not work with religious morality, and he should be thoroughly educated in the art. He should be much ahead with everybody in order to lead. Then comes Mahatma Gandhi on leadership. Mahatma Gandhi said that morality is the first thing. Honesty, morality, non-violence. These are the essential ingredients of a leader. A leader in no conditions and with any excuse cannot adopt immoral means. Because ends and means, he said, that ends do not justify means. It is the means which justify the end. You cannot achieve good end by bad means. Gandhian thinking with regard to leaders was that they should be pious. They should live a simple life. They should follow law. They should not have property. They should be the trustee of properties. They should not be corrupt in any case. And they should be accepted by the public. Diplomacy do not allow them to be immoral. So in this way, Gandhi gave the moralistic theory of leadership, which in the post-independence India we can very well see stands nowhere. We have seen all kinds of corrupt leaders, from top to bottom corrupt, from top to middle corrupt, and from only top corrupt. We have different percentages of corrupt leaders, 10% corrupt leaders, 20%, all varieties we had during the course of 60 years plus of the Indian independence. So Gandhian concept of leadership as honest and non-violent doesn't work in the modern period. But one thing is very important, that truthfulness of the leader increases his legitimacy and confidence of the people in the leader. Unless leader is truthful to the goals which he has to achieve, his legitimacy will not be there. And legitimacy of the leader is the most essential ingredient of a leader, which we shall see in the coming lectures. Then the last thinker which we will discuss today is Ambedkar. Ambedkar maintained that leaders are not born. Leaders are made by the social circumstances. He objected to the Varna system. He refused to accept that Brahmins and Kshatriyas are the leaders and they should be the leaders. Backward classes can also be leaders. He emphasized on equal education and equal social opportunities for all, and the leaders will come from that equal climate. So in this way, Ambedkar was in a way rejecting the age-old notion of Varna and was pleading that even the poorest of the poor, backward of the backward, should be given the chance to become a leader because they are having equal potential to become a leader. So I discussed the different thinkers. Now it is up to you to accept the different trends. Whether a leader should be feared or loved, whether a leader should be moral or immoral, whether a leader should be fighter or peace-loving, the different parameters are there and different supporters are there. Just to conclude, I may say that characteristics are the requirements of the circumstances. In one circumstance, one leader is successful. In another circumstance, another leader may be successful. Tomorrow we shall take up the cases and the various theories of leadership which are prevalent in the modern period. Thank you, friends. Now I invite the questions.
Yeah.
I shall be glad to answer the questions if there are any.
Yeah, we have questions, and we will take up the from audience question. Before that, we get a question from audience. We would like also to ask you what we saw in the ancient time, what Plato suggested a moralistic ground of for the leader. Then we come to the modern period. Mahatma Gandhi suggests a moralistic ground of the very important for the leader. So, can we see? Can we say that we have not discussed, a political scientist have not discussed seriously what are qualities, what are the traits which are common?
Hello.
Yeah, just let us take a question from our viewers. Yeah, welcome to your interaction session. Please ask your question.
Yes, I want to know.
Firstly, you introduce yourself and then you ask your question, please.
This is Mr. Ashutosh from Chandigarh.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
We have been reading Professor Jain and we have read his book, excellent book that he has written in political theory. He's an excellent teacher, it seems. I've never been taught by him, but I'm sure he's an excellent teacher.
Yeah. Ask your question, please.
The question is that what you are talking about the Western leadership, but what is happening today in India is that our leadership is bad. It is declining from bad to worse. Because we have people, either their sons or daughters of great leaders, or we have people who are goons and they are becoming leaders. So how do you think Indian democracy will survive with this kind of leadership? What can you do for this as political scientists? What do you suggest we should do?
Okay. His question is mainly related to dynastic, because the person who born in a particular family, they become they become great, and they are influencing others. So in a present day democracy, how this can be changed, and to what extent, what role you see in this?
That's a very good question, friend. Regarding dynastic rules, though monarchies are no more there, dynasties have vanished, but inheritance is very much there. Not only in India, where we have seen one dynasty still going strong, but throughout the world. There were Bush plus Bush in America. There were many countries where the sons and daughters of the rulers, they ruled like Bandaranaike in Sri Lanka and all that. We can't rule out that dynasties. But in democracy, there is no hard and fast rule that the son of a politician cannot come into politics. And it is not a bad trend also. It is an open competition for power. Of course, in political parties, the dynasty works, especially when the power has been concentrated into the hands of one politician in a political party. If political party refuses to work on the principle of democracy, there is centralism only, then dynasty emerges in the party. In the Indian context, as we shall see tomorrow, we are having engineered leaders. The leader is engineered, manufactured by the parents themselves to take over. He is trained into that very process. And in spite of being the fact that he is dynastic, he becomes legitimate in the process. Purely dynastic leadership doesn't work. We have a very prominent case of failure of dynastic leadership. That is in the post-emergency period. There was a dynastic leader in the form of Mr. Sanjay Gandhi. He was not given any legitimacy at all. He was a complete failure in spite of all the good and bad programs he introduced. Dynasty alone doesn't work. What works is when he is manufactured also into a leadership through a democratic process. And obviously, the son of a politician or daughter of a politician is having a better opportunity like son of a businessman and daughter of a businessman in the business, or son of a film actor and daughter of a film actor in films, or son of a professor in academics. So this is all there.
Yeah, this is societal phenomena that son of a doctor want to become a doctor, son of engineer want to become a... So we will discuss again, but before that we take up another question. Please ask your question.
See, what you are saying is right, but don't you think that democracy requires larger number of circulation of people in politics? Because what is happening today is that out of 500 members of parliament, you find that many of them are coming as family people, and that will not really will be fair competition. You have said that politics is a fair competition for power. It is not fair because somebody is son of some big leader and having a lot of money and having control of the party, so they will control everything. The democracy will completely fail in this case. So how do you think that people from below can be brought to the top leadership? What kind of quotient one has to work out? How can one train them? These are questions that we want to know from you.
He has two questions. In fact, one is what he is suggesting that in democracy we have a larger participation. It requires larger participation and influence. And the other question is regarding how people from the lower class or the low economically or whatever it say, how they can be a politician and become and have a say in the power if this case continue for a long?
Regarding participation in politics, there are different theories which have emerged very recently. One is the theory of participatory democracy. Another is the theory of digital democracy. More and more participation is always welcome in politics. Earlier there were very few venues of participation, but now there are many venues open after this revolution in the information technology. So more and more participation, of course, is desirable from the classical viewpoint. But on the contrary, there is another theory known as elitist theory of democracy, which decries participation. They say that more and more participation by the people will transform democracy into a mobocracy. It will become a mobocracy because people can be taken for right. You can very well see various movements. Right now the train systems are disrupted. Ultra democracy, where that will lead? Because masses have been taken for right by unscrupulous politicians. Best example is Hitler. Hitler came to power with the vast participation of the people. So, regarding participation, there are different approaches, different views, positive as well as negative. But to myself, I personally believe that more and more participation is better in political processes. If people will participate more, democracy will be more mature, more meaningful, and more accountable to the people. Regarding the second question, how the poorest of the poor can come to the top leadership? The answer is very simple. We have seen examples. Examples of poor people coming to power like Lal Bahadur Shastri in the country, we have seen. We have seen people of the backward classes coming to power like Jagjeevan Ram, like Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh right now. Whether they have come by right means or wrong means, that is not to be questioned. So, backward classes or poor people, they can at least think of coming to power in a democratic society because of the democratic processes. Ladder is same. Ladder to power is same through political parties or through action or through movement and all that. Money is not the only criteria of coming to leadership. Money can hire the poor people if they are capable to become leaders. If a poor man has got the personality traits to become leader, he can be hired by the people of money to become a leader. If a poor man becomes leader, it is not necessary that he will work for poor. It may be there that he may work for the rich people. So poor people can come. Both in education, you can see that in colleges, poor boys are doing wonderfully well than rich boys or rich girls. So in democracy at least, those opportunities are there, those possibilities are there, eventualities are there, which otherwise were not available in monarchies or in dictatorships. That's why 3 cheers to the democratic processes operating in the society, both for development and both for leadership.
Okay. So good, you explain all the things. Now I would like to ask a question that is more in regard to the political science academician, political science theorists. They have confined themselves in the university campuses and engaged in more on seminar and other debates, but their participation in the politics is very less in compared to previous period, like say during the freedom struggle or whatever, though, what role you see in this crisis, in this disconnect between a political scientist, political science student, political science professor, and the politicians? Why there is so disconnect, and what could be its alternative? And how a political scientist, theorist will help to improve the politics of the country of any nation or any
It's a
nation?
very good question. The question is very simple, that why academicians or the good people, you can say, I am not saying that academicians always are good, because that will be a self-praise. Why they are not coming to politics in open, and they have left the space for so-called 100% politicians who are semi-scoundrel and semi-politicians. Simple answer is that there are two kinds of politics. One is the politics of sacrifice, which were going on in the freedom struggle. There are a lot of academicians, people with pure conscience came into the open struggle. That was the struggle-oriented politics. Second is the power-oriented politics, where you are having only rewards, which is being played nowadays. The motives of entering into both these politics are different. In the politics for sacrifice and or struggle, the motive is not to gain power, but motive is social transformation. Their participants are the vehicles of social change. They bring about social change. Whereas in politics of power, which is going on now, it is not for transformation as such. It is so much meddlesome, so much dirty and filthy, that sometimes purely academicians or semi-academicians, they are reluctant to enter into it. However, the scenario is changing. Scenario is changing in the sense that public is realizing that criminalization of politics, which has been at its peak in this country, or is still going on, is not good for the society. It is for the masses, of course with the efforts of the general people, that good people should be brought into the actual real politics. So I wish that after these the discussions we are having, these discussions will help us in at least realizing as to who is a good politician and how is the good politician should be pampered to come into politics and change the color of politics from bad to good.
Right. So, well, friends, in today's lecture, we saw the politics in a thinker's perspectives, the thinkers of the Western world, and of course in of India. And we will discuss more in another two lectures. So, I think today we have now running from short of time, so we will conclude the lecture here. And I thank all of you for watching the lecture. And on your behalf, I thank Dr. M.P. Jain for enlightening us with such a wide aspect and idea of the different thinkers. So, thank you very much.